Sooner Nation, we've talked about a lot of good news coming out of these spring practices and scrimmages, but today we got to talk about a specific 2024 recruit that has came on campus. He's turned heads and opened up everybody's eyes to just what he could potentially be here at Oklahoma. Today, we're going to talk about that specific player and a little bit more. But today, I am joined by Jay over at Unfair Sports. Jay, how are you doing?
What's going on, PG? Thanks for having me, man. Love talking about rising stars.
I know. I've talked about Malik Hawkins and Bauer Sharp here, so I've covered two of the offensive guys, but I think it's time to cover one of our defensive prospects. And I mean, we'll just go ahead. We won't leave everybody hanging. We got to talk about Reggie Powers because this was a late eval for Oklahoma, or a later eval. He ended up decommitting from Cincinnati, and he had offers from Ohio State. Or what? It wasn't Cincinnati? It's Michigan State. Michigan State. That's what it was. Cincinnati was in the running. But he had offers from Cincinnati and Ohio State. You know, he's from that area. This was a really good grab for Oklahoma in all indications. We've got a chance to really kind of talk to some people who have been around these scrimmages and have heard things, have been able to watch these players. And Reggie Powers is absolutely showing out. I mean, there is absolutely no doubt in my mind. This is going to be a guy that's probably going to be getting a lot of playing time come this season, and maybe even in the spring game. You guys might get to see a little bit of what he's been able to do. But to give you guys a quick glimpse into Reggie Powers, right? Out of all the freshmen DBs, he had the most reps at 225 pounds at 12. He came in at 202 pounds. He's up at 210 now. I don't know how this guy can gain any more weight playing as a free safety, a strong safety, or even a cheetah. You heard that right. And he also had the fastest top speed, which I think rumors going around, it might be 22. I was told 21, but maybe 22. So, Jay, what are your thoughts about Reggie Powers? Because I feel like this might have been one of the pieces that the staff has really needed in this defense. Kind of a guy that can be a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, if you've been following me, over my channel on Unfair Sports, I've been high on Reggie since the minute that we offered him, right? The best thing about the dude is that he's got a highlight reel of him just hitting people. Like not, your standard highlights from high school. No, it's a hit highlight reel of him leveling people, taking people's heads off. And the best part, it's like 3-4 minutes long. Like he's got footage of him laying the hammer. And that's the thing that I really enjoy about the way this staff has been recruiting over the last couple of years. You'll notice that they're going after dudes that have this thing for violence. Like they like knocking somebody off their block and, standing over, maybe step over them and watch them kind of squirm from the hit. We're building a team of dudes that like to hit. And that's going to be huge going into the SEC. And so, of course, with that, guys that like to hit a lot, tendency is you're going to run into a few injuries here or there, right? Like, one of my favorite safeties to ever play the game is Cam Chancellor and part of that Legion of Boom in Seattle. He had to retire, about 10 years in, or I think it's a little bit less, because he just kept hurting himself. And that's something that you're going to see from this team. But we've got like layers upon layers upon layers of dudes that want to do that exact same thing, right? That's probably the big part of the Marcus Wimberly commitment we got for this class is he likes to hit. And so Reggie having this highlight video of him just hammering folks, absurd. So it's reason to be excited about him. And he's also turning heads in practice. We've been seeing the articles come down. I've done a video on it. You've done a video on it, PG. We know that he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. And they're playing him all over the place. They just want to see what fits best. But the best part is that he's showing out as a freshman in all of them. So, yeah, you're right. I anticipate seeing a good chunk of him at the spring game. Heck, I can see him playing in the fall during the season, especially in that home slate that we have coming up. Those first 4 games, we may see some Powers out there with everybody else.
Yeah, now, and just to preface, and as I've said with everybody, spring practice is way different from real reps against somebody that's trying to go actually take your head off in a real game. But when you guys look at the physicality that Reggie Powers is playing with, and I wish we could show you guys some of the things, but we got to wait till the spring game to see it. Reggie Powers is a guy that, again, I was talking about, I think is going to be the Swiss Army knife. I think this is the piece that Brenton Venables has really been missing in the defense. A guy that he can kind of really move around, and he could play he can play anywhere in the safety. Maybe down the road in his career, he can kind of help the corners out a little bit. But what I've been told is, and this is something that I think you've heard as well, these leaders and Danny Stutzman and Billy Bowman and Woody Washington, they came back for one more year, one last hurrah. They have been absolute leaders in this locker room. Billy Bowman has done a phenomenal job at being able to help Reggie Powers get up to speed with what it's like to play in a college game, like in this college atmosphere, getting him ready, helping him understand his checks. So I'm really excited to see Reggie Powers. I think this is going to be a key piece to our defense over the next 3 years, because I think that's probably all you're going to have him for, because I don't think he's going to get redshirted.
I mean, he could end up being like a Reggie Smith, but that hits hard. I mean, I know a lot of people remember Reggie Smith coming from Edmond, I think it's Edmond Santa Fe, and he was a really good safety here at Oklahoma. And for me, with Powers, I feel like Powers, as you mentioned him as a Swiss Army knife, I feel like he's going to give us a lot of Kendall Dolby vibes, right? Like Kendall coming in, even as a smaller dude, people weren't sure. Like, okay, he may be a nickel, maybe a little corner. He played from outside corner. He played nickel. He played cheetah. He was everywhere. Dude was blitzing and was getting sacks and getting pressures. I could see them trying to do some stuff like that with Powers. The question's going to be, is RP3 ready to go in and actually do those type of, blitzes on the edge, right? Going around the edge guy and really hit, give us those safety blitzes. I think he can. It's all about the instinct at that point, but he's not the size. Like you said, he's like 210. They're trying to get him down because he's already bigger than they want him to be. They don't want to stifle his speed. I mean, they can get him back to main, because he walked in at 205. The crazy part, dude's only 17 years old, guys. He didn't turn 18 until the summer. I think it's June, either June or July. He's young. So you got this young dude out there already built like a grown man, like an NFL safety. He's already built for it, right? I mean, you bench pressing 225 17 times, kind of NFL ready at that point, right? All it is just continues to develop and get your body ready to take that impact. But if he keeps it up, it's going to be dumb.
Now, taking a look at the safety room, so we've obviously talked about how Reggie Powers could make an impact, but I'm looking at guys that were already here. Peyton Bowen, talked about Robert Spears-Jennings. We've talked about Zach Alley maybe even running a 3 safety look at times. I'm kind of curious, who do you think is going to be potentially starting at this safety spot come fall?
Oh, it's going to be Robert Spears-Jennings. I think it's going to be him, and Billy Bowman is going to be your starters. But if you want me to throw a wrench in it, I could see it being Robert Spears-Jennings and Peyton Bowen be your starters. Billy's kind of proven himself. All he needs, he's more so fine-tuning things. I could see them having Peyton start over him and play Billy in little certain areas, kind of like they're going to do it Woody. And, the young guys be the ones that really gel and take over, because we know Billy's going to, Billy put up a nice resume the last few years, especially last season, returning 3 interceptions, 4 touchdowns, and having 6 interceptions total, which led, the Big 12. So I think that he's already at that point. It will be interesting to see if they decide to go ahead and start Peyton Bowen right next to Robert Spears-Jennings, rotating Billy in while also rotating Woody in. And then, like I said, I anticipate you're going to see some Reggie Powers play throughout next season.
You've got to, right? This defensive backfield for Oklahoma, and this is what I think a lot of Oklahoma fans don't understand. One, you've got a lot of size back there now. This is not something that Oklahoma has really had in the past, especially with your corners. But it's just super talented all the way around. I'm looking at the corners. So you talked about how good those safeties are. Gentry Williams and Des Malone on opposite sides. I feel like those are lockdown corner combinations. But then you've got Kenai Walker, you've got Kendall Dolby, you've got guys that have came into the program. Like, the future is bright for this defensive back room for Oklahoma. And if you're an Oklahoma fan, you have to be pleased at where they have gone. So if you guys have not already, make sure you join the discussion, jump down in the comments below. And if you've made it this far, hit that like or hit that subscribe button. Jay, where can the people find you at?
Yeah, you can find me on Unfair Sports. Find me here on YouTube.